Have you ever wondered if you have what it takes to be a content creator? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to Content Creation for Beginners, a seminar by me, Amanda Sunshine, content creator. Over a year ago, I was just like you, sad, lonely, deeply empty inside, deeply unfulfilled. And then I started making content for the internet. And now, look at me, leading an unaccredited seminar that people are paying over $600 to view. I want to start this seminar by saying thank you. Thank you so much to everybody that has purchased this seminar and is watching it right now. You guys literally are the only reason that I'm sitting here in this specific room, in this specific house today. You guys made this happen, and without you, I would be nothing, seriously. I would be the gum on the bottom of T.I.'s shoe. But thanks to you, I'm here. And I want to help you be exactly where I'm sitting, in this house, in this room, through content creation. So let's get started. Okay, I've prepared a presentation to share with you all today that's just chock full of tips and tricks and advice for getting started in the confusing world of content creation. And it can be so confusing. I have put the presentation in this sketchbook. So let's go ahead and see what's inside. I believe I opened it from the back. The biggest lie you ever believed was that you are not enough. I think we should take a second to sit with that. I see a lot of people say that they could never do what I do because they don't have X, Y, Z. They don't have the talent. They don't have the looks. They don't have the likability. And that's the biggest lie that they've ever told themselves, because everybody is talented. Everybody can do what I do. I'm literally just sitting and talking. You can do that. I don't know where along the line you told yourself that you're incapable of sitting and talking. You can do that. And you have to believe in yourself in this industry, because there's people left, right, center, back, who are all trying to make you believe that you can't do it because they don't want the competition, and you are competition. You're only boring because you're you. Let me explain this one a little because I feel like it's not coming across how I meant it. You're only boring because you're you. Yeah, you think you're boring, but that's only because you've lived with yourself for your entire life. And so you're immune to the sparkle of your life. You're immune to the pieces of you that make you interesting because you've always known you, right? But if you were to meet you for the first time, you would realize you're not boring. You're just tired of yourself. You have to see yourself through new eyes. You're so used to you, right? You look in the mirror, it's the same old eyes, the same old nose, the same old forehead, the same old hair, the same old elbows, the same old ankles, the same old thighs. Yeah, it's the same as it's always been. And therefore, it's all unremarkable. But if you were to look at you with new eyes, suddenly that's a shiny pair of kneecaps. That's a pair of eyes I've never seen before. Those are some ankles. And furthermore, in terms of your life experiences, taking a step back and looking at yourself with new eyes, you can realize, oh yeah, I actually do have a story to tell. Not everybody's dad gets arrested when they're 2 years old for robbing a bank. Whoa, actually, my life is kind of interesting. That's the idea, at least. You live in Arkansas, and to you, that's nothing, right? You live in Arkansas, and that's just what it is. You've lived in Arkansas your whole life. It's not an exciting thing to you. It's nothing to you. But to me, Arkansas is a new perspective. I've never been to Arkansas. I've never even met a person from Arkansas. I would be fascinated to hear the stories of what goes down there in Arkansas. Do they have cars there? Do they have boats? Are there any lakes? Can a horse just kind of wander around in Arkansas? I don't know, and I'd love to find out. You are the only one who has lived your life. Nobody else has your unique lived experiences. Nobody else has lived the life that you've lived. Yeah, somebody over there, maybe they grew up underground. They were raised in kind of like an underground fashion. And that's interesting. Of course, that's interesting. had it harder, have had it better, have gone more places, seen more things, does not mean that your life is not interesting and that I don't want to hear about your life. I do. And you're the only person that can tell me about your life. Nobody else can tell me about your life because they haven't lived it. So who am I going to go to when I want to hear the story of your life? You, baby. It's always going to be you. Okay. So let's talk about how can you capitalize on your lived experiences. You're sitting on a gold mine, darling. You're a little dragon perched atop a gold mine, little baby. And the gold mine is your life. The gold mine is your stories. It's up to you how much of it you capitalize on. And content creation is capitalization of experiences. You can share the deepest, darkest, nittiest, grittiest. And the people will come and they will watch and they will listen. And you can potentially make money off of those stories. And there are negative consequences to doing that. If you were to decide to air your family's dirty laundry on the internet, your family actually has the internet as well, and it's very possible they could see that. I want everybody to find the balance between sharing themselves on the internet and blowing up their personal lives. This seminar is not about how can you make everybody in your life hate you. You have to weigh the pros and cons of sharing each story. Never share something deep and personal willy-nilly. You might say, well, Amanda, I don't have any followers. Nobody's gonna see this. They might, particularly if you're crying. If you're fine with it, crying is a great way to get views. People love to see a weeping person. They love to see someone at their lowest. But you don't have to go about it that way. But it is an option. And I have no judgment for people that decide to use their pain for profit. Besides your personal pain, how else can you capitalize on your lived experiences? My first question for you is, do you have any skills? Maybe your first response to that question is, no, Amanda, I don't have any skills. Well, let's take a second. Let's take some inventory. Because something that you don't really recognize as a skill could be something that other people are deeply lacking in. For example, do you know how to cook? I don't know how to cook. A lot of other people I know have no idea what an oven is. So you might think it's not such a skill to be able to cook, but I do. I think it's a huge skill, and I wish you would teach me. There's so many other examples of things that you might take for granted as skills, but that are totally teachable and marketable. Do you know how to write in cursive? You could teach people that on the internet. You know how everybody's always saying the kids these days don't know how to write in cursive. Teach me. Teach them. Teach the kids. Let's say, are you a singer? Do you play any instruments? Are you a dancer? Those are some kind of the classic talents, classic skills you can showcase. But there's also, are you a mechanic? Can you fix a car? Because that's hot. Are you a lumberjack? Can chop some wood because there's a market for that, believe it or not. Are you a fisher person? Can you catch a fish and tell me about the little fish? I'd love to learn. Do you watch birds in the sky? Do you keep tabs on them? Tell me about them. I'll listen. So really do an in-depth look at you and ask yourself, what are some skills that I have? I must have skills. I couldn't have lived to my 35th year or however old you are without a single skill. You know that you have some type of skill. Stop selling yourself short. The second question is, do you have any hobbies? Okay, so you've decided you don't have a single skill. Sad, but okay. You don't have to be talented at your hobbies to share them. Are you just getting into crocheting? Cool, me too. Show me. Seriously, show me how you crochet. I'd love to see it. Do you collect something? Got some Pokemon cards? Prove it. Pull them out. Show me them one by one. Do you go antiquing? Bring me along. Film it and bring me along and show me the antiques. Do you go thrifting? Doubt it. I'm not going to believe you go thrifting if you don't show me your thrifting finds. Do you ride horses? Cool. Get on top of a horse with a camera and film that. Right? Think about your hobbies in terms of what could I film. There are some hobbies that are harder to film than others, of course. If you're someone who does the pottery like this, like in the movie Ghost, the pottery, the clay can kind of fling around everywhere and get on the lens of your camera or your phone. So that's one of the harder hobbies to film. If you're a scuba diver, you would have to have the right type of equipment to film that. But some hobbies are super easy to film. Do you square dance? Cool. Film it. You know. Our next question. Third question. Do you have any lived experiences? And this little guy says, I've lived a life. I can answer this question for you. Yes, you have some lived experiences. Of course you do. A lived experience is just a memory. It's just something that you've done, and you've done things. Okay? Every single thing that you've done is a potential story, is a potential piece of content. Were you partially ran over when you were a toddler by a Honda Civic? Okay, that's a story. That's your story. Let's hear it. Did you go missing at one point in a well, and then a dog had to come rescue you? That's your experience. That's your story. You can tell those stories. Now let me give you some tips on how to tell a story, because I know we all learned this in 4th grade when we were learning how to write. But some of you have forgotten some of the important stuff. So the most important thing about telling a story on the internet is you have to start with the good part. Remember that everybody that you're talking to has the attention span of a chinchilla. And I say that, I make that analogy under the assumption that the chinchilla has a very short attention span. If it is the case that the chinchilla has a long attention span and I am just misinformed, well then, I don't mean that this analogy in that case. I only mean this analogy in this scenario where the chinchilla has a short attention span. Anyways, we've all got these little chinchilla brains and we're scrolling through our phones. You start the story with, I was wearing a pink dress on a Sunday. I don't care. And neither does anybody else. You have to start with the most interesting part of the story and then you can fill in the gaps for us. Right? Like this girl, she says, I'm Amy and I was raised in a cult. That's the first sentence of the video. That's the very first sentence of the video. That's not something that I'm going to hold on to until 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the video because nobody cares to watch my video unless they know why they're watching. Tell them why they want to watch right from the get-go. Also, if you were raised in a cult, you have no excuse except for perhaps your trauma. If you were raised in a cult, you have no excuse except for perhaps your trauma when it comes to making content because you are sitting on a gold mine. Those stories, I tell you, there's a massive community of women ages 18 to 55 that are salivating to hear your cult story, and I'm one of them. So tell us the cult story if you don't mind, please. I'm Tyler, and my aunt is on the run from the mafia. Okay, that's juicy, right? Right from the get-go, he says, I'm Tyler. That's not the interesting part, right? But he's familiarizing himself with us. He's Tyler, and his aunt is on the run from the mafia. It's not every day an aunt runs from anything. It's especially not every day that an aunt runs from the mafia. God, I hate the word aunt. Aunt, aunt, they both sound wrong. You don't even have to introduce yourself if you don't want to. She says, I was scammed in France. I say, tell me about it, girlie. Because I was considering France. And now that you say you were scammed there, I'd like to know so I can prepare myself. I pooped my PJs. Adult woman pooping her PJs. Yeah. Am I embarrassed for you? Am I cringing for you? Of course I am. Am I giving you 1 million views? Yes, that one too. Alright. Also, when we're telling a story, we have to ask ourselves, what are the relevant details, right? I was attacked by a shark. Say that's your story. Say you were attacked by a shark. If so, you're sitting on a gold mine. The relevant details would be, where was the shark attack? As a viewer, I want to know that because I would like to not get attacked by a shark, and I don't want to go to the beach where you were just attacked by a shark, so tell me where that happened. How bad did it hurt? I've never been bitten by a shark. I don't know how bad that hurts. Tell me. Do you still have all of your limbs? I'm fascinated. Do you have both arms? Did you pull a Bethany Hamilton? Did you lose one of them in the battle? I'd like to know. And then some information that's not relevant is what you had for breakfast that morning. Even less relevant is what you had for breakfast the day that you decided to tell the story. You see where I'm going with this? If you don't know what to say, figure it out. This seems like a given, but I can't tell you how many times I've watched a video where the person is very much struggling to get a story out. If you're not sure what you're gonna say, don't turn the camera on yet. Wait until you know what you want to say. And there's no shame in pauses, my friends. You don't have to be a one-take wonder. You can take as many takes as you like. You can have as many clips in the video as you like. Don't leave in all that air. Seriously, if I'm watching your story and you say, okay, so it was September, I think. No, it was March. Go back into it again, honey. It was March, it wasn't September. Start the take over and say it was March. Right? There's no shame in starting over. Do you own cool stuff? I'd love to see it. Show it off. Do you have maybe the first George Foreman grill? Cool. I want to see it. Do you have a table that looks like a waffle? Do you have a waffle maker that makes waffles that look like tables? Do you have a lemon the size of your head? Do you have a French dog? Ask yourself, when people see this item, when they come into my home, do they have questions? If so, I think the general public would like to know about that item. Do you know about cool things? We want to learn. A lot of us have very flimsy educations from the United States education system. And so there's so many gaps that we'd love for somebody to fill. Do you know a lot about history? Tell us about history. We don't know about it. We really don't. Do you know interesting facts about engineering? We could use some of those. Do you know why there's gravity? Tell us, because I don't. Do you know about why the moon doesn't, just float away from us? Tell us. If you know things, that can be a great start for your content. Ask yourself, what do I know the most about? And try to present that information in a way that's accessible. Pictures. The people like pictures. They need pictures. They need infographics. We don't want to hear about the medieval times if we don't have any pictures of it. I do realize there weren't cameras invented in medieval times. I don't mean actual photographs of medieval times. I mean drawings, illustrations, diagrams. Tips for watchable content. Tip number 1. Can I see you? Let there be light. You don't have to get a ring light right away. I know that you're just kind of exploring this. You're not sure how serious you want to get. You don't need to get a ring light right away. But it would be helpful if there is a light on in the room. I know that some of you are self-conscious, but trust me, nobody cares as much as you think they do. It's so much more embarrassing to film something in the corner of your room like you're a hostage with 0 lights on and your blinds closed. That's far more embarrassing than whatever bodily deformity you have. Tip number 2, can I hear you? Let there be sound. A common mistake that people make when they start making content is they get those little lapel mics and they bring them right up to their mouth and they talk like this. You don't have to do that. Seriously. In fact, you are making your content unwatchable if you just have spitty right up against that lapel mic sound the entire time. When you're thinking about your sound quality, the main thing is turn off things in the background. Get close enough to your phone that your phone picks up up your voice. And if something super loud happens, like if someone starts running a blender while you're filming, film it again. Tip number 3, don't apologize for existing. If your hair bothers you that much, fix it before you film. I don't know how many videos I've seen that start with, I'm sorry about my hair, I'm sorry about my face, I'm sorry about my weight, I'm sorry about my health issues, I'm sorry about the inflammation of my colon. You don't need to apologize for being a person that lives in a body. If you really are that self-conscious about your lack of makeup or your hair, do your makeup or fix your hair before you start filming. Either own it okay, moving on to tip number 4. We're not live. Did you mess up? Film it again. This is not live Saturday night from New York City. This is, we're live. It's not that you're in your home. You're filming with your phone. The stop button is free. You can stop the recording and you can try it again. I see so many times people post lip syncs where they seem to have never heard the song before, and the mouth at no point matches up to the words being sung. You don't have to post that. In fact, you should not. I see people record themselves doing dances that they've clearly never even seen. They've never even watched someone attempt that dance. Remember, we're not live. You are not in front of a live studio audience. You can do it again. Okay, so there's always opportunities to capitalize off of other people's stories, off of other people's pain. But it's important to be diligent about the choices you make in terms of when you choose to chime in on a big topical topic. Let's just take a look at my tips. Question number 1 is, do you have a unique perspective to share on the topic? Let's look at an example of what I mean. Alright, let's talk about the Oscars. Example, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. Unique perspective. You were Jada and Will's driver for the evening. Yeah, I would really love to hear from you if you drove Will and Jada home and you have details about the conversation that occurred. I would love to hear about that, you know. That's an example of a perspective that nobody else had. That's an example of you truly contributing to the conversation. Are you an expert on the topic in some way? For example, OceanGate implodes. Do you build submarines? If so, you could be a really good candidate for a creator who should voice their opinions on that topic. The question is, are you adding to the conversation something that wouldn't have been there without you? That can even be a humorous take. If you have a humorous take on a topical situation that you haven't seen other people kind of having, then yeah, I think is a good time to chime in, but be careful with humorous takes and current events because there are some things you shouldn't joke about. When should you not chime in? Ask yourself, am I talking out of my ass? Because so many people, I think they feel like, okay, everybody's talking about this, so I have to. There are certain things where you don't have to. You don't have to give your opinion on Britney's conservatorship, right? If you're not adding to the conversation, if your voice is the voice of a parrot echoing what others have already said, it's not a necessity for you to enter the conversation, but you are welcome to. But if you have no idea about the situation and you just want to hear yourself talk, choose something that you do know in terms of what to talk about. Okay. How do you know if content creation is for you? This is the last section of my presentation, and it's rather simple. Do you like it? If the answer is yes, it's for you. Do you like it? If the answer is no, it's not for you. I have told you a lot today about how to get started making content. I haven't really told you too much about how to make money making content. That will be in the next seminar. However, if you enjoy making content, whether or not you're making money from it, you should be making content. Content creation is the ultimate exploration of authenticity. Can you show up as yourself and say things to whoever wants to listen? Do you enjoy showing up as yourself and saying things for whoever wants to listen? If you don't enjoy it, don't do it. It's only $600 down the drain from the cost of this seminar. Other than that, no harm, no foul. Don't forget to like and to subscribe. This one needs to go with this one. Both of these things need to occur. Okay, sweet.